Welcome to the Planning Commission, June 23rd, 2020. I would like to start the meeting with call of order and the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could have everyone stand. I have a flag, which I will raise so that way you guys have all a visual. Okay. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If we could have the roll call.
Yes, thank you, Chair. For roll, I'll start with Commissioner Guerrero.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez, I don't see on. Chair Sanchez.
Present.
Commissioner Quill.
Video down there. Try that one.
No. Vice Chair Jones.
Present. Good evening.
Commissioner Wilbert.
We're trying to get, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, all right. I'm trying to get my picture up.
Start video.
You got my dog.
That is good, nice looking dog there. Very nice looking dog.
He isn't sworn in.
Commissioner Chang.
Present.
Commissioner Jaramillo.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right. Should we actually administer the oath for those that are calling in, or will that be done when they're calling?
I can do that at that time.
Perfect. Wonderful.
All right.
So from here, we'll go to the consent agenda. Staff, is there any report for us?
Yes, please. Honorable Chairperson and Commissioners, on tonight's consent calendar, we have two items. Item number one is the minutes for the meeting that we had on June the 9th. Those are complete as presented. Item number two is revolving real property street vacation 15.30-433. We're asking that the Commission adopt resolution 20-20-026, forwarding a recommendation to the Mayor and City Council for the approval of that street vacation. Those are the two items on consent calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. At this time, really quick, I'm going to go over some ground rules. We are going to be doing a vote roll call as we've done prior meetings. If you do have to go to the bathroom or have a break, please just raise your hand so that way we can maintain quorum. I will be going through first, we'll hear the staff report, we'll open it up to public comment. From there, we will hear from the applicant as well. And then I will go down the line with the wards and the commissioners. And then we'll go one more time around and just raise your hand if you do have another comment. From there, I think we're ready to go and we're ready to start. So we have the minutes and yes, Albert.
Chair, can I just ask, if anyone suspects that they're going to have a conflict of interest for any of the items, can you raise your hand? Any of the commissioners? Commissioner Chang, is that a yes? Commissioner Guerrero?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Chang, which item are you going to have a conflict of interest for?
Sorry, Albert. I mean, yes, I will raise my hand, but
Oh, okay. So you don't have
I
a
was on mute when I was.
Oh, okay. So you don't have conflicts.
Nothing. Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Guerrero, did I see you raise your hand? Commissioner Guerrero, can you hear me? I don't know if she can hear me. Commissioner Guerrero? Commissioner Guerrero, can you hear me?
Wave. Wave if you can hear. I know how she feels.
That's right. That was you last time, Oliver, with technical
Last time.
difficulties. Commissioner Guerrero, can you hear me?
I see a note on the bottom where it says I'm unable to hear.
Oh,
In the chat, look at the chat. Look in the chat.
okay.
It looks like she's going to be logging back in.
Yeah. All right, let's give her a second to log back in.
Perfect.
No pressure, no pressure. Everyone looks so serious.
It's getting hotter out there. Holy moly. Oof.
That's what we were hoping for in January, right? And here we are.
I hope everyone's had a lovely week and productive while we wait for you.
Yes.
Welcome back, Commissioner Guerrero. Can you hear me? Okay. So can you clarify, were you trying to say that you were going to have a conflict of interest on an item, or that you don't have a conflict of interest on any items?
No, I do not have a conflict of interest on any items. I've lost connection from the point that Mr. Mujica was speaking. So after that, I didn't hear anything.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem. Okay, so Chair Sanchez, we're good to go.
Perfect. All right. So since we don't have any conflict of interest, and does anyone have, actually at this point, I will open public comment for the consent calendar. If anyone has any contestation to the minutes or the street vacation, any questions? If not, I will close public hearing for this and I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Stephanie, if we could have a vote roll call.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Commissioner Guerrero,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolbert,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jaramillo.
Aye.
Consent calendar passes.
Wonderful. At this time, I will read public hearing items. The Planning Commission will first hear a report from staff, and then the public hearing will be opened. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Next, members of the public will be allowed to speak. After all have spoken, the applicant will be allowed to respond. The public hearing will then be closed, and the Planning Commission will begin deliberations and make a decision. All actions except general plan amendments and amendments to the Municipal Development Code are final actions unless an appeal is filed and a fee paid within 15 days to the Community Development Department. If you challenge the resultant action of the Planning Commission in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this agenda, or in written correspondence delivered to the Community Development Department at or prior to the public hearing. At this time, I will open up for agenda item number 3. If we could have the staff report.
Yes, please. Good evening, Commissioners. Item number 3 involves conditional use permit number 20-01. It involves a property located on the southwest corner of Del Rosa Drive. Too many, one back, yeah, go, yeah, that's fine. Del Rosa Drive and Baseline. Next, please. This is a rendering of the project as this would be if you were standing at the corner of Del Rosa and Baseline, if you were looking towards the property. So as you will see on the site plan later on, the canopy is more located towards the corner, and the convenience store, C-store towards the back. But this is the flavor of the project that's being proposed. Again, the project, again, as I mentioned, it's on the corner of Del Rosa and Baseline. It's within the commercial heavy zone. The proposal is to construct like I said, the gas station has 8 pump islands, convenience store, approximately 7,200 square feet, has a drive-through express car wash, approximately 1,800 square feet. The overall site has approximately 4.32 acres. At this time, they're only developing on approximately 2.1 acres, which is the most the most easterly portion of the site on the corner. And we'll show you that site plan later on, how that will evolve. This is the identifying the site. Again, it's adjacent to the heavy commercial on both sides. We have the county of San Bernardino to the north. So this is an aerial of the site. And we have a flood control channel that's adjacent to the property to the south. We have a self-storage. We have another facility there to the west. And again, we have the county that's to the northern part of the property, or across the street from Baseline. This is if you were standing diagonally looking towards the property. So I took this picture standing on the opposite corner. So I'm looking at Del Rosa would be on your left-hand side of the picture, and Baseline would be to the right. I'm looking directly at the project site. So I'm crossing the street here, and I'm looking east on Baseline. And this is at the corner of the property, and this is looking north on Del Rosa. And this is still at the corner, and now I'm looking south on Del Rosa. So you can see it's vacant there. So this is the site plan. As I mentioned, the development at this time is going to be on the most easterly half of the site. It has everything to be what I'll call self-contained. We have the access points. We have one coming off of Baseline, and we have the other one down on the southerly end coming off of Del Rosa. And like I said, there's more than adequate parking for what's being proposed. And from the standpoint of landscaping, it meets all of the development standards that are required for such a development. I will also note that at this time, the project or the CUP does not include a request for an ABC license. It's my understanding that that will be coming in the future, maybe as part of the phase 2 of the project, or when the second half needs to be developed. This is the floor plan on the upper left-hand portion of the slide. As you know, a lot of the convenience stores are typically around 3,500, 4,000 square feet. The Beyond Mart is kind of a new concept for convenience stores, and the applicants are on the meeting with us, and if they'd like, they can provide a little bit more detail in terms of the philosophy of their company. But it's my understanding that they're more geared towards healthy choices. So you may be able to find some ding dongs or Twinkies in there, but primarily a lot of fruit juices and healthy snacks and those kinds of things that they offer at their stores. This is these are the elevations. So this is I have a text down here from Commissioner Jaramillo. He's having a bad connection. Just as an update. So these are the elevations. This is looking at the convenience store. This would be looking towards the north. We have the east elevation, the west, and the south. So they are very avant-garde, contemporary. It's certainly add some flavor to the corner, if you will. I mean, it's an area of the community that I think that with the architecture and with the landscaping that we'll be proposing for this thing, I think it'll make for a good catalyst for future development in that area. This is the landscaping plan. And again, it exceeds the minimum 15% that's required by our code. what we're going to focus on, as well as some of the other projects, if you recall, at the last meeting, that were hard corners, I'll say, or important, significant corners of the city. We will work with the applicant that we do something that I'll call make a statement at that corner from a landscaping perspective, kind of to highlight the corner and to kind of establish the presence here. And so that'll be at the corner and at the entryways there on Del Rosa and on Baseline. There'll also be some landscaping features that'll highlight those entry points. If we may back up for one second, Stephanie, if you don't mind. As I mentioned earlier, there is, this is the most easterly portion of the site, and you'll note that the other remaining 2 acres approximately will be vacant at this time. They are contemplating, they're in discussions, my understanding, with some potential people that come in. They're anxious to start their Beyond Mart. They have a couple of new stores here in the Inland Empire. Some of our neighbors so they're excited to have had those open. So they wanted to kind of get this in, get it going, and then work on the other tenants. I will add that we've included as a condition of approval in our resolution, and it's actually condition number 7. We've included a condition basically stating that prior to a certificate of occupancy for this phase, we would require that a few things. One, that that vacant site, that it kind of be scraped a little bit, kind of knock down the weeds and those kinds of things. We're also asking that kind of a temporary landscaping buffer, which would be at 10 feet along Baseline, and then 10 feet in the area between the two projects, which would be like adjacent to that driveway that comes off of Baseline. So there's some landscaping, some color there, so it doesn't just look barren, kind of a thing. Also, that they install a temporary fence that would involve some kind of some type of screening, whether it's a cloth screening or the mesh kind of screening. So we want to kind of reduce as much of the blight as possible. We have a nice project going in. We want to make sure that we address what's part of the site, but also cover up while we're processing that entitlement. With that, our recommendation as a planning commission, find the categorical exemption for this. It is an infill project based on CEQA, and asking that you consider approving conditional use permit 20-01 based on the findings of fact that we've included and the recommended conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. It's my understanding that we had a public comment that we could play. We also have the two of the folks on the development or application team online as well, that would be available to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver. Yes, Albert.
Oliver, did you want to make a note about condition of approval number 30?
Oh, yes. On the packet, if you were to scroll to condition page number 30, okay, so I made a little boo-boo. There is, it didn't delete all the way. I was deleting one of the conditions, and so we got item number 30, which is on page 9 of the resolution, proposed resolution. And I kind of stumped Albert. He wasn't able to tell me what a daily visible was, so we had to delete that condition. So actually, it did not delete it entirely. It's supposed to be deleted. So I just wanted to make that note on that resolution. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Oliver. At this point, I will open public hearing. We will first hear from public comments, and then we will have a rebuttal or further comments from the applicant, and then we will go down the commissioner line.
Thank you, Chair. Let me go ahead and queue up the voicemail that we received, and I'll play that.
Wonderful.
Hello, my name is Lee Coe, Leecoe. I'm the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, San Bernardino, 1499 Baseline Street, just adjacent to the new project that this conditional use permit 20-01 1, the proposal for the gas station and the drive-through car wash. We're located within 500 feet of the project. And I have a couple of concerns and questions and for the Planning Commission and their decision. I'm concerned about the safety of the church members as we come and go, primarily in the area of selling liquor there at the market. Wondering if they're going to get an ABC 20 or 21 license, believing that in proximity of the school and the church, the Curtis Middle School, which is on Del Rosa, and then our church, which is really close by. I'm concerned about the safety of children walking next to this establishment. If there are going to be people drinking and cars coming and going. So that would be my concern. And also if pornography will be sold at this location so close to our church. If there's any city ordinance about pornography being sold within proximity of a church. We're just west of this proposed site, and we have been here since 1984, Calvary Chapel, San Bernardino. And again, I've been a pastor here for many years, assistant pastor, and now the senior pastor. My name is Lee Coe, and my phone number, I'm available. You can reach me here at the church at 909-381-5353. Thank you for listening.
That is our only public comment for this item.
Perfect, thank you. And we have the applicant here, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. This is Michael Ramirez on behalf of applicant Aziz LLC. Good evening, honorable commission members. In response to the pastor's concern, as Mr. Mojica mentioned, there is no ABC license that is part of this application at this time. So we will not have any of those situations with regards to the liquor or the pornography being sold at the property. Additionally, the applicant's intent is to develop the property in phase 1, which will be the C-store, car wash, and the fuel operations. And once we have an anchor tenant, if you will, we'll be able to look forward, and our intent is to try to bring in an acceptable drive-through restaurant that we will vet through the city staff to make sure that it's a national prominent firm that is acceptable and that the city will be more than happy to have there. And then the third parcel on the property, once we move through, we're looking to hopefully provide a national brand type of fuel or car oil facility similar to Jiffy Lube. And that's kind of what we're doing. If we find a tenant for the other parcel that would like to use a larger facility that's a combination type of use, then we will more than likely try to move so that we just have one other building on that property. That could be, I don't know if you're familiar with the split uses of, a Carl's Jr. and a Mexican food facility, or the KFC and the Dairy Queen type of facility, but something that might be a split use. So we will be looking for national branded chains for those, for that area. And that's the intent at this time of the development team that's putting this project together.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this project. So I will go down the list with the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Guerrero. Do you have any comments?
May I provide a couple of updates as well?
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Oliver.
I did want to point out that in the event when the applicant returns for the second phase of the project, there'll be a couple of options. It would be either a revision to the conditional use permit, the one that's being, if this one happens to be successful, it would be a revision to CUP 2001. If the applicant decided to do a parcel map, if you will, and separate the two lots, there may be a need to do a separate conditional use permit because CUPs run with different parcels. So those are two options. I just wanted to point that out. So in any event, whatever happens on phase 2 or the remaining portion will come back to the Planning Commission. So I just wanted to make you aware of that they would return for that other phase, for that other part of the development. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Oliver.
Welcome.
All right. Commissioner Guerrero?
No, it looks like a very nice project. The landscaping itself will set the standard for future projects, I hope. But no, it looks great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I'll be supporting the project. I think this is good use for that vacant lot right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing the applicants' progression as they move forward with this development. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Wilbert?
Yeah, I really like the landscape on the corner, where to give a wrap like that, which really is good. I happened to be down that area this morning, and that's going to be a great addition to that area. It will really set it up, and I hope phase 2 will come along real soon. So I really like the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilbert. Commissioner Chang?
And no objection. I like the project as well. Looks very nice. Architecture design. And it will brighten up that corner. Very nice. And then nice to hear we have a healthy snack place. Hopefully. Yes. Beyond. Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Chang. Commissioner Jaramillo?
Yeah, I just want to say it looks like a good, I also like the architecture, nice and clean, and I think will make a good addition to that area.
Perfect. I did actually have a few quick questions. The project, it looks amazing. As my fellow commissioners have said, the landscaping, everything. You were mentioning, Oliver, that there will be a fence separating phase 1 from phase 2, correct?
That is correct.
Will there be anything surrounding phase 2 or that portion of the land, the west side?
Well, like the fence along baseline, it'll be set back 10 feet. Okay, so in that space between the property line and the fence, that gap, we'll put some temporary landscaping in there, some ground cover, something so it's not just weeds and barren. Likewise, on the fence between where the phase 1 is the development is, and where the fence, will put a 10-foot landscape strip in there, so that there'll be some, so it'll address the aesthetics on both sides.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that way, that area, they're not, exposed in the backside essentially to vagrants or anything else. And I also wanted to make sure that, that wouldn't become an encampment or something of that sort as well.
So we will be sensitive to that. Where I say screening, we don't want it to be solid, because we want to be able to drive by and see if anything that's happening that shouldn't be happening is going on. At least as you're driving by, you would be able to notice it. But at the same time, you're not just looking at a vacant lot as you're driving by, kind of thing.
Perfect. Yes, I just wanted to make sure it would be safe.
Can I make a comment at this point?
Yes, of course, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, this is Michael Ramirez again. I just want to let you know that the applicant operates more than 10 or 12 of these types of facilities already throughout Southern California. So this is not going to be their first operation, and so that we've got a very good working experience with regards to how to handle the additional space, how to deal with making sure we don't have trash accumulation, we don't have situations with encampments and things of that nature. So we'll be more than happy to share the other locations that are in operation now. But more importantly, yes, we're well aware that it's going to require some stewardship on our part to make sure that, that investment is not surrounded by conditions and aesthetics that are not pleasing to the users of the facility, and also, the city fathers as well.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure your project would be nice and safe, and it looks like a wonderful project. I fully support it. I drive by that section before as well, and yeah, it looks great. Do the commissioners have any other further comments?
I have one more thing.
Yes,
What is
Commissioner.
the proposed timeline for construction, and what are going to be the proposed hours of operation for this site?
Michael Ramirez, I'm going to respond to that. We would like to proceed, obviously, before we made the full investment of time and resources. At this point, depending on the vote this evening, if we're able to get the go-ahead from your planning commission body, we will move forward with putting together all the development plans and construction documents and trying to get those submitted within the next 45 to 60 days. And thereafter start pursuing those development rights as quickly as possible. Operations for these types of facilities are usually 24 hours with a 3-man shift to make sure, you know, we have the safety of the employees and the operations run smoothly. At this time, that is the proposed intent to have that type of operation. So again, that lends itself with all the security cameras and things that are brought in as part of the operations to keep an eye on the property, you know, throughout the night to make sure we don't have any situations flare up at the site.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Do I have any other comments by the commissioners?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. On piggybacking on that security, do you plan on having any on-site security there?
At this time, based on the operations that we have at other locations, we find that having the digital cameras, you know, part of the work program for the personnel that are there on site, you know, they'll walk around the building at certain times during the shift to make sure there's nothing happening around it. But at this time, it is not the intent to have an armed or unarmed security person at the property. We don't feel that the operations that we'll be having there at this time will warrant that, especially because there will be no liquor at this site. So we're not going to have people coming in late at night. Once everybody understands that there's no alcohol at that site, that usually will take care of that problem.
Wonderful. Any other comments? If not, then I will close public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 3, resolution 2020-027, and approving conditional use permit 20-01 based upon the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Stephanie, if we could do a vote roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Guerrero,
Aye.
Chair Sanchez,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang,
Aye.
Commissioner Jaramillo.
Aye.
The item passes unanimously.
Congratulations and welcome to the
Congratulations, sir.
And it looks like an amazing project. So we look forward to seeing it open.
Thank you very much. And now we can start turning the jets on a little bit faster. And we hope to see you guys at the groundbreaking.
We'll definitely be there. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Likewise. Moving on to item number 4, if we could have the staff report, please.
You there, Elizabeth?
I'm here, but I think yeah.
Are you there, Elizabeth? She was earlier.
I
There
can
we
hear
go.
you.
Can you hear me? I got excited, that's why.
Okay, okay.
This is my first time at the Planning Commission. Sorry about that. All right, so item number 4 is conditional use permit 20-02. The proposed project is to request for the expansion of an existing wireless telecommunications facility, camouflage as a monopine. The goal is to increase the height by adding approximately 16 feet, co-locating 12 panel antennas, and increasing the ground-mounted area by 250 square feet. The existing site is located at 2055 North Elks Drive within the Commercial General CG1. Stephanie, next slide. The existing monopine was approved back in August 5th of 2005 under Development Permit Type 104-06 for approximately 65 feet. So the goal now is to add these additional approximate 16 feet in order for the tower to now be 81 feet. The existing cell site is located on the Elks Lodge property, and it's located a little bit to the northwest corner of the site. Here's the existing aerial view of the site. And then it's visible through Monte Vista Drive. So if we go to the next slide, there's going to be this is the existing cell site. So as part of the addition of the additional 15 feet co-location and expansion, they're going to also do a lot of repair to the existing monopine in order to make sure that that we are still able to maintain some kind of camouflage of the existing cell sites that are there and the new cell sites. This is a site plan layout. If you see in the square box, that's where the cell site is, as well as the ground-mounted equipment. Next slide. And so this is more of a layout, so you can see the actual layout of the site. And if you're looking at the left-hand side, that's where the monopine is at with the equipment. And then the left-hand side, that's all the equipment. That's where that's located. These are the elevations for the site. So currently right now, the only existing cell sites are the bottom ones. They're about 4 on each side. And then the top are going to be the new 12 ones for the co-location. And so with that, the recommendation for the Planning Commission is to adopt resolution number 2020-028, finding the item categorically exempt and approving it based on conditions of approval and findings of fact. If you have any questions, I may be able to answer some of those questions for you. I don't see the applicant in the meeting, but I can answer a lot of those questions if you have any.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and Honorable Chairperson and Commissioners. I just wanted to note a correction on the resolution on page 12 of the resolution within section 12, within section 5 on a recommendation where we talk about finding the categorical exemption. It actually should be a section 15301. In parentheses, it is not a new construction, it's actually existing facilities. So I just wanted to make that change. And also it makes reference to CUP 1903. I'd like to make sure that we change that to CUP 20-02. And with that completes our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you.
At this time, I will open public hearing for this item. Since we do not have the applicant, I will go down the list of the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Guerrero.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilbert.
I have none.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chang.
Sorry, none for me either.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Jaramillo.
I just have a quick question. What's the time frame that it would take to expand?
Typically a lot of these cell sites, once they go through the approval, they're really quick at turnaround time. They already have the specs in place in terms of what needs to be submitted for building and for construction. So usually probably within the 15-day, because they want to wait for the appeal period. And once that's over, they're really quick at just submitting them, turning them in, get them through plan check, and then start the construction of the site. So I would probably say within 30 to 60 days is their typical turnaround.
Okay.
Not taking into account any plan check.
Right. All right. Well, I'm familiar with the area. I was there about a month ago, and I know it wouldn't be in the way because of the location.
Yes, it's very located at the rear of the property, so it's in a good location.
Yep. All right. That was the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I also think this would be a great project because it's better signal for us and it's out of the way. The landscaping does seem like it needs maybe a little bit of help, but that might have been just because the picture looks like the leaves are all falling. But aside from that, I think it's a great project. Does anyone else have any comments? If not, I will close public hearing for this item, and I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion approving agenda item number 4 as read into the record.
I will second that. And Stephanie, if we could have a vote roll call.
Chair. Commissioner Guerrero,
Aye.
Chair Sanchez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang,
Aye.
Commissioner Jaramillo.
Aye.
The item passes unanimously.
Wonderful. All right. Moving on to item number 5. If we could have the staff report, please.
Yes, definitely. Item number 5 is conditional use permit 20-08. This is a request to allow for the establishment and operation of a plasma donation facility within an existing tenant space containing approximately 11,844 square feet. The property is located at 2065 East Highland Avenue within an existing shopping center that is zoned Commercial General 1. The operation itself of the plasma donation facility would be to collect plasma in order to create life-saving therapies. It will accommodate 36 donation beds, approximately 50 to 80 employees with their respective work schedules diverse throughout the week. And they will provide training for employees and supervised playroom. The donation facility itself is also FDA regulated for the collection of plasma, personnel, donor selection. They conduct regular inspections for compliancy with their state license. And then all donors are required to provide proof of residency, ID, medical screening that can include history of a history interview of their medical background, physical exam, and a blood test. The proposed hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is the current site. It is within an existing shopping center. Each shopping center has its own parcel or address and property owners associated. The one in the yellow, that's the actual property for 2065. It's composed of 2 parcels that includes some of the parking area. This is the aerial map of the site. Again, it's within the corner of the property, and it does compose some of that parking area within the existing shopping center. This is a existing site. It's at the corner of the property for the site. As you can see, it's in really good conditions. The shopping center has been maintained and they're going to be keeping up the interior as well as maintaining the exterior of the site. This is the existing site looking from East Highland, not only looking at the existing tenant space, but also looking at the overall shopping center that includes the Cardenas, the Starbucks, and then a construction site for a new Wendy's. And this is the existing site looking from Sterling Avenue onto the shopping center. This is the site plan for the property. There is a diagram there on the corner in terms of what the floor plan layout. They are proposing to add an additional dumpster that is going to be protected and gated in order for there not to be vandalism or anybody going onto and grabbing any kind of trash or dumping trash onto the trash can. And then this is the floor layout for the tenant improvement. It's going to consist of a playground area, operations, training, the bed area for the site, and then it's going to have restrooms as well within the tenant space. With that, our recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2020-029, finding the categorical exemption and approving the conditional use permit based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and Oliver may want to add any additional information as well.
Yes, Commissioners, if I may, as you are aware, we have received some written comments, both prior to the meeting and some prior, and some in advance that we were able to distribute with the package. And so I hope that you have received all those in advance. And Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we can read those comments that came in here at the end, and then after that, I can address some of the comments that have presented. If you could do that, please, Stephanie.
Not a
Thank you,
problem.
Oliver. Thank you, Elizabeth. At this point, I will open public hearing for item number 5 and take it away, Stephanie.
Give me one moment to queue these up and get ready. The first letter that we received, honorable members of the Planning Commission, 2065 East Highland is approximately 12,000 square feet within a 132,000 square foot shopping plaza located at the corner of East Highland Avenue in Sterling. Plaza was built in 1986 and currently owned by 5 separate owners, including the undersigned. There are about 30 small businesses as inline stores and several anchor stores, including Cardenas, Fitness Planet, O'Reilly's, Starbucks, and Wendy's currently under construction in the plaza. Approximately 70% of the plaza is owned by the Sirit family. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Mr. Von Hepman, Mr. Patrick Chariu, and Miss Yoon Kim. All these owners are in opposition to the subject CUP. As the undersigned, I and my husband had ownership in the plaza for 20 years. We stayed invested in San Bernardino in the plaza hands on, and we saw many visitors, tenants in the plaza come and leave. Some examples are Joann's Fabrics, Staples, and Walmart. Mr. Hepman and Mr. Chariu joined the plaza as owners and successfully brought Cardenas into the formerly vacant Walmart supermarket building, a new Starbucks, which just opened 2 weeks ago, and a new Wendy's, which is now under construction. Small businesses' inline stores are almost full, and the plaza is now, for the first time in years, very vibrant. Parking is full to the brim, serving to the families and the community, with Cardenas bringing in family-oriented customers. Homeless is the biggest struggle in the plaza, and more homeless and economically challenged people will be brought into the center by the offer of $25 per blood donation. The subject blood bank at 2065 East Highland presents only 9% of the plaza, yet this use would result in substantial damage to the remaining 91% of the plaza. It is a corner space with common walls on both sides that was formerly occupied by Joanne Fabric, a store selling linens and bedclothes. Joanne's Fabric had at most 4 to 5 employees. This conditional use permit is for a medical facility blood bank per city code land use activity with 36 to 48 donation beds and a staff of 50 to 80 employees, with half of this number being the full-time employees. This new use as a blood bank has no nexus to a fabric store or any other use in the plaza and should not be classified as existing. This is an entirely new use of this space from the prior use as a fabric store. As a new store, it should require full disclosure, detailed studies, a full EIR, and public hearings to determine impact to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act. Plaza owners strongly believe city's approval of a CEQA categorical exemption pursuant to section 15301 as an existing facility for this entirely new use for subject CUP will not meet CEQA. If necessary, we, along with other owners, are prepared to challenge the CUP by appeal to the mayor and city council and in court if needed. We strongly disagree with staff report analysis as to site design, access, parking. Staff states 59 parking stalls will be provided, which exceeds the 40 parking spaces required for the proposed project. This does not provide for the facts of the plaza nor the project as follows. Applicant states a $3 million annual to be paid in donor compensation. Based on the $25 per donor compensation provided by a similar plaza donation facility in the city, this provides approximately 328 donor visits a day. If each donor parks for 2 hours for 1.5 hour medical procedure, as per the justification letter of the applicant, this will require 46 parking spaces for the donors. If you add 40 parking spaces required for 25 to 40 full-time employees per CUP and another 15 to 20 for the part-time employees, this will require a total of 106 parking spaces for the operation of this facility. This is well in excess of the 27 parking spaces in front of the building where the parking access is and 15 parking spaces in the back of the building where deliveries are received for a total of 42 parking spaces. These 42 parking spaces are substantially less than 106 parking spaces required for the operation of this facility and will substantially impact the plaza. A full traffic and parking study is obviously necessary for the CUP. There is nothing existing about this traffic impact. Staff analysis does not provide for wait lines impact to plaza. CUP states donor can make appointments via app and there is no restriction as to walk-ins to the facility. Wait lines can form on plaza sidewalks prior to 6 a.m., awaiting opening of the plasma donor facility, and continue throughout the day, devastating adjacent businesses. Nor there is any consideration whatsoever for COVID-19 social distancing, either in the interior of the blood bank or for wait lines outside the facility. Additionally, City Development Code Section 19.02.050 defines a blood bank, a separate freestanding facility or part of a larger laboratory and hospital. Then City Development Code Section 19.06.020 Section H, land use activity includes blood bank under medical care facility social services. 2065 East Highland is not a separate freestanding building. It does not meet the city's development code requirements of a freestanding facility per sections 19.02.050 and 020 as stated in the staff report and the resolution. 2065 is a corner elbow unit attached on both sides with common walls to 2055 and 2075 East Highland. City of San Bernardino already has 3 blood banks, each of which is freestanding facilities with designated ample parking. If this CEQA categorical exemption and the CUP is approved by the commission, plaza owners who are extensively invested in San Bernardino with our funds and hard work will continue to take every avenue available for the city not to force this on the plaza, which will have negative impact and is not compatible with the integrity and character of the plaza. As property owners, we are informed of this CUP for the first time through a public notice received in the mail on June 13th, 2020. Staff recommendation and applicant justification letter were posted on the city website 2 business days prior to the public hearing. No formal or informal information was previously provided by city staff, nor any input was sought or obtained from the plaza owners as to the effect of this CUP on the plaza. This is very troubling to us. We had very limited time to make our tenants aware of the CUP. Attached is the petition signed by the tenants that were able to reach during this very short period of time, stating tenant objections to a plasma donation facility in the plaza. Again, I urge you not to approve a categorical exemption under CEQA and not to approve a CUP for a plasma donation facility at the plaza. We do not wish to be in any adversity with the city. We are part of the city and invested in the success of the city. And this particular public comment came from Handon Surratt. The second public comment we have that was sent in is a letter of support. We are providing this letter to document our support for BioLife Plasma Services request for conditional use permit required for their proposed new location within our shopping center located in San Bernardino. We strongly believe replacing 11,844 square feet of vacant space within our shopping center with the proposed BioLife will benefit the entire shopping center tenant mixed in the following ways. Having a healthy and vibrant business in this place will be far less attractive to vagrants and loiterers than the current vacant space. BioLife plans to maintain a monitored security alarm system as well as security camera system to aid with the policing of this reportedly existing issue. BioLife dissuades vagrancy and loitering by maintaining a mandatory appointment-only policy for all their plasma donors, including the use of a smartphone-based app for appointment scheduling. BioLife will not accept plasma donations from potential donors who are unable to provide documented proof of residency, such as a utility bill for an address matching their photo identification. BioLife plans to hire 50 to 80 full-time and part-time employees to staff their facility throughout the week. These employees are likely to patronize businesses within the shopping center from time to time. BioLife expects to pay $2 to $3 million per year to plasma donors at the San Bernardino facility. Donor payments are 100% in the form of prepaid debit cards, as cash is never present at a BioLife facility anywhere in the U.S. BioLife historical data indicates that 80% of the donor payments are spent within the community in which the BioLife Center is located. This represents a potential $1.6 million to $2.4 million spending infusion within the shopping center and surrounding areas. And this particular letter of support came from one of the owners, Victor Call.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. At this point, I will actually open it to the applicant if he has anything to add.
Chair? Yes, we still have two public comments.
Oh, yes.
We have a voicemail recording and we have a live call-in.
Perfect. All right.
I'm going to play the voicemail next and then we'll work on the call-in.
Hello, my name is Vaughn Hickman, VAUGHNHAPEM, and I'm calling about the conditional use permit 20-08 plasma donation facility 2065 East Highland, and I'm calling in opposition to that CUP. I submitted a letter dated June 22nd to the Planning Commission, and also a couple emails prior to that. Hopefully they're part of the public record. Basically, this blood bank that's being proposed is a totally different use than the prior use for this location, which was as a Joann's linen fabric store. And it's substantially higher use. It should not qualify as a categorically exempt under CEQA. It's going to have increased traffic, as I mentioned in my letter of 6/22. It's going to have a substantial adverse effect on the existing merchants, and both in parking and in traffic, and with the type of customers and the number of customers that that it appears they're projecting in order to have $3 million in revenue generated that they're giving to the blood donors. So at any rate, I just wanted to go on the record again, and hopefully my prior emails are in the record. The site is not physically suitable due to its corner locations. It's not certainly suitable for the density and intensity of the use being proposed. Again, at a minimum, a traffic impact study and parking study should be required. And we also believe it will create significant traffic and other situations and conditions that are objectionable and detrimental to the other uses in the vicinity, as well as will create additional problems for the city in terms of the number of people that are being attracted to this use. Thank you very much for your consideration. We really hope that the Planning Commission will see to reject this CUP. Thank you.
Okay, and give me just a moment as I get a live caller on the line. Commissioners, I have our speaker on the line. I'm going to go ahead and read her into the record and then start her 3 minutes for public comment. Okay. Handan, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
Yes, I do.
Perfect. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Handan Sirit. I have our speaker on the line. I'm going to go ahead and read her into the record and then start 3 minutes for public comment. I'm sorry, am I online? I lost track here.
Sure. Handan, I think you might have to mute your computer.
Okay, we did because we were watching well. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go ahead and start. Good evening, honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Handan Sirit, and I am one of the owners, along with 4 others in the plaza. The plaza is located at the corner of East Highland and Sterling. My husband and I have been invested in San Bernardino for 40 years, working hands-on on the plaza for the success of the plaza and the city. And I'm speaking to you requesting denial of a CUP for a plasma donation facility, in another term, the blood bank at 2065 East Highland. Majority of my concerns were read by Stephanie just a few minutes ago. And thank you, Stephanie, for reading my letter. Only other comment I have is I know Mr. Hipman had another letter sent June 22nd, and I would like also that to be read to the Planning Commission. Mr. Hipman is one of the major owners in the plaza. And the other thing I would like to add is within San Bernardino, there are many places that are experiencing hard times in finding tenants in San Bernardino that a blood bank can locate. We urge them to locate, the blood bank to locate to one of these locations and truly bring the revenues and jobs they claim to San Bernardino. Our plaza is not the one. Blood banks pay $25 per donor, mostly to the most needy in the community. Their operation starts at 6 a.m. as people line up as walk-ins or just waiting to get in. Our plaza does not have the physical space nor parking to accommodate this use. Donors deserve to be in a space to accommodate them during this 2 hours process and not wait on sidewalks. This is even more urgent issue as COVID-19 sweeps the community. Again, I request the Commission to deny this CUP. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask if the applicant would like to speak.
Madam Chair, if I may add some items to the discussion, please, for clarification, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes, I could appreciate the emotion of the neighboring owners and what have you. I just wanted to address some of the statements that were made for clarity, just to make sure that there's a clear understanding of how our analysis was processed on this item, just for clarification so that everyone's on the same page. As it relates to the processing of the conditional use permit, there was a comment as it related to the public hearing notices. We just like all the other items on this agenda, they were all released, they were all published, posted on the same date. Just like we do with all other items, we send the item to the newspaper. It shows up in the newspaper ad at minimum 10 days prior to the date, and we also mail out the notices so that the residents or the property owners do receive those notices 10 days prior. That we do that. That's because that's by state law. And so I just wanted to address that the noticing was the same as we've been doing for as long as public hearings have been around, kind of thing. So I just wanted to address that there was that we did what we were to do on that. The other comments came up as it related to CEQA, and there was a question as to whether it was we categorized it as a existing facility. And for clarification, under the definitions of CEQA, existing facility does not mean that it had to be the exact type of business before that you're proposing. As an example, if it was a fast food restaurant, it has to be a fast food restaurant that goes in afterwards, or if it's an office to an office kind of a thing. So it's a like use. So our code and land uses are separated by land uses. We have residential, commercial, and industrial. Each one has its land use tables, and so that's what we look at to identify if it's similar or not, kind of a thing. So if a commercial use is a commercial use is a commercial use, and that's how we review it. There's other categories, have you seen some of the other exemptions? Infill, if it's under 5 acres, and some of these small structures and those kinds of things. And so I just wanted to, for clarity, for the commissioners' sake, and for those in the public that responded, believing that existing facilities meant that it was a similar type of business. That is not the case. I just wanted to clarify that it does qualify as an existing facility because it was a commercial use before. It's a commercial use, moving forward. There was some discussion about the blood banks and how our code defines them, and it talks about that they be a separate use, or can they be freestanding, if you will. All that meant is that for clarity, I guess, back in history, blood banks or those kinds of facilities, dialysis centers and those kinds of things were traditionally done within the confines of a hospital. So you went where there was one location, there was one building or what have you, and you had all these variety of services. So as it relates to the blood banks or a plasma center or something like that, when it says that it can be a freestanding business, doesn't mean that it has to be an individual building all by itself with its own parking and what have you. All it's saying is that it does not have to be a component of another medical use or a facility or a hospital, that kind of thing. So that's why you see these independent that it's common. You see these things in centers all the time, kind of thing. So I just wanted to clarify that the freestanding meant that it does not have to be part of another medical type of use. Wanted to address the notion about the parking and the adequacy of the parking. Some of the commissioners may recall a while back we did have Elizabeth mentioned that there was a Whitney's restaurant that's coming in the future here at this center, which was approved by conditional use permit. We spent a lot of time at length, frankly, with the applicant of that project, with their traffic engineer. We had them if some of you that were on the commission at that time, we had them do an analysis. We made them go out multiple different days, I should say, over the course of the week or a couple of weeks to kind of, is a parking demand different on a Saturday or a Wednesday or a Friday? We also had to do a comparison between mornings, afternoons, and evening, because it is an older center. The standards that it was developed under, if someone was to try to build that center from ground up with the square footages and the parking, it may not meet code. So we wanted to make sure that we also had the applicant of that project identify all the businesses that were in the center and, kind of the respective parking and what have you. And so we have done that analysis. There's also a reciprocal parking agreement, as with most shopping centers, when there's multiple businesses, multiple parcels. Typically, there's an association involved or something like that, where the entire parking lot's being maintained by a single entity. They all have, if you're going to the nail salon, you can park in front of the fabric shop or in front of the tax preparer. So you could, if you're in the building, you can park anywhere. And so I just kind of wanted to mention that we did look at parking. We did look at the analysis. We did take this particular center in consideration. And even driving as recent as, these last couple of days, and you drive by there, not to say that there's not a whole lot of people, but it's easy to find parking there. And I don't want to discredit any of the other comments, but I do want to clarify that we did spend a lot of time on parking, not just from the previous application that was for the Wendy's, but on this one as well. And so the code, it's not set up where the parking for the blood bank, proposed plasma center, I should say, has to be within that one irregular shape. There's whatever stalls that they have provided. They could essentially park in areas. So in closing, I mean, I could appreciate the comments that were made. Obviously, they're passionate. They're property owners, and they have their opinions, I'll say. But for clarification, I just wanted to, for the record, state that we did cover a lot of the things that were expressed in the comments, so they were not ignored. We did evaluate that. There was we revised the resolution that you had received prior to the meeting that we emailed to you. We also put it up on our website, so that's available. And for those that may comment that, well, it's last minute, or we haven't had a chance to read it. This is it's a common practice, and we've done that a couple of times in some of our previous planning commission meetings, where there's some dialogue among staff, planning commissioners, and as a result, and you'll hear me say this. You've heard me say this many a times. What do you want me to add to the findings, right? If we're going to deny or you support or whatever, we need to make sure that whatever your opinion is gets reflected in the findings, because that's the basis of your recommendation, of your action, whatever that may be. So that's what I had done. The revisions that were made to the resolution basically mirror what I just mentioned to you. I didn't want to just sit here and read word for word what we wrote down, but the resolution as amended does address those points, and specifically as it relates to CEQA, because I just wanted to clarify that it absolutely qualifies as an existing facility. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. I know the applicant's been waiting patiently, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Oliver. Yes, if we could have the applicant make a few comments.
Yes, thank you. Jeff Terrace with JCW Development, 100 Tower Drive, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, 53916. representing BioLife Plasma Services. Our client, along with me, is Wendy Nichols also, and Kenneth Rolfe of BioLife. Kenneth will be the district manager of the California BioLifes that are in the current planning process. So he can answer if there's any operational specific questions that maybe fall a little bit outside of my area of expertise. He is online to answer and speak to those. But I can speak to the application. And I thank you, first of all, for having us and letting us speak here. What I'd like to kind of speak to as far as, why BioLife and what's different about BioLife. BioLife provides life-saving and life-changing therapies to people around the country. People with hemophilia, people with immune deficiencies, people who are the victims of burns. They, unlike a lot of the other plasma places that you may have heard of, BioLife is a fully owned subsidiary of its parent company, Takeda Pharmaceuticals. So all of the plasma that's collected at a BioLife is used by their own parent company, Takeda, for these therapies. They aren't just selling plasma on the open market to the highest bidder. Because of that, they want the highest possible quality plasma they can get. And they put a lot of rules and regulations and standards that go above and beyond what some of the other plasma places that you may have heard of go to ensure that they get that quality of plasma. So that's one difference about them, and I'll speak to some of that. In addition to the treatments that they currently address, I also want to note that they're very actively working on, and by no means are they there yet, and I don't want to present that they're there yet, but they're very actively working on what plasma can do and how plasma can potentially be used to fight COVID through plasma treatments. So in addition to the other items, they're working on that as well. So this is an important part of many people's lives for health. Now, we'll get to some of the economics. As mentioned in the letter, BioLife's going to hire between 50 and 80 full and part-time, about half full, half part-time employees, nurses, phlebotomists, technicians, et cetera, to work at this facility. And these are going to be good, not retail minimum wage type jobs. They're going to come with paid time off on day one. You're going to have the opportunity to apply for and be given tuition reimbursement, whether you're full or part-time on this. Because they are part of a larger organization, they want to develop their employees from within as much as possible and grow them. So you'll have opportunities to advance. This isn't just a dead-end position for some of these people. And finally, these jobs are going to come with medical benefits. And those medical benefits are both for the full and the part-time employees. There are not too many businesses out there right now that are saying that we're going to give 50 to 80 employees paid medical benefits upon start date right now, and BioLife is one of them. So these are good jobs, and I like to emphasize that when I make these presentations. The next is the economic impact that they're going to bring. First thing, the project itself, they're going to spend approximately $3 million renovating that existing facility, cleaning it up, new signage on the exterior, new lighting, new trash enclosure in the back, completely gutted and remodeled within on the inside. So that's $3 million worth of construction that's going to come. And it's going to be a much improved and cleaner, more modern facility when they're done. As was mentioned by some of the donors, and it kind of confuses me as to why other tenants would be against customers coming into their shopping center and walking out of BioLife with between $2 and $3 million a year in prepaid debit cards to spend. And BioLife tracks these debit cards. They don't know what they're spent on, but they know where they're redeemed. And 80% of that $2 to $3 million is going to be spent within the community in which the BioLife is located. So there's going to be a significant annual economic impact for the positive for the surrounding area. The next subject I'm a little uncomfortable speaking to because I don't want to be perceived or misconstrued as not sympathetic to the homeless plight. I think it's a sad and unfortunate problem around the world and in the US. And I don't want to sound like I'm speaking against it, but because some of the folks that have written letters, that seems to be their primary concern is with homelessness. I do want to speak a little bit to what BioLife does about that and why it's actually quite the opposite of a concern that they should have on the homeless front. Like I said, BioLife operates, last time I checked was a couple weeks ago, it might be off by 1 or 2, 123 of these locations around the country. And we hope to open more because there is such a demand for human plasma and there's no way else to get it but these donation facilities. So they go out of their way to be good neighbors and to not be perceived as a negative to the community and to work with their co-tenants. I think one of the worst things you can have in terms of if you have a homeless problem is to have a vacant building. It's an attractive nuisance for theft and for squatting. And we're going to try to take 12,000 almost square feet of vacant space off of the property rolls and put it to good use. They're going to install a security system with burglar alarms. They're going to install surveillance cameras throughout the space. They do have a very strict no loitering policy. And I mentioned the other 123 locations. If word gets out around the country that BioLife really is a loitering concern, it's going to make my job that much harder trying to get the next place approved. They only take appointments. So there isn't loitering because you can't just stand there and wait for an appointment. You have to make an appointment to be seen. They've gone so far as to develop a phone-based app that allows you to make your appointment over the phone if that works for you. You have to show proof of residency when you're there for donating. So you similar to the convenience store that you approved at the first agenda item. When they see that there's not alcohol being sold there, they don't frequent there. When they see that you can't be homeless and sell your plasma, they don't come there anymore. It hasn't been a problem anywhere else, and they're very strict about enforcing that. You have to show proof of residency, whether it's a utility bill or something in addition to your photo ID. You're given a physical exam in strict compliance with FDA regulations, and they don't pay cash. They are 100% prepaid debit cards, so it's not like you can just go out and get cash and use it for something illicit. Just the debit cards. So I mean that's kind of the gist of everything that they do to try to be good neighbors, donate their time back to the community. They take at least one day a year where the staff is sent out to work on a community project. They're members of the Chamber of Commerce, so forth. The staff, Ms. Mora Rodriguez and Mr. Mujica, have reviewed this and have offered their support on this. We thank them for that. There's also the precedent of existing plasma and blood donation locations in San Bernardino that we would ask you to consider as well. We follow all CDC P guidelines for social distancing and COVID, so that also is no more an issue at BioLife than it is at the Starbucks and the Wendy's and the grocery store down the road. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. Same for if you have any operational questions as well.
Thank you, Mr. Terrace.
Thank you.
Is there other comments by the applicants?
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the, since you were talking about the homelessness issue, and they do, BioLife has other facilities, is there any way that they do track potential homeless clients? Because that's a concern that the other owners are bringing up.
Sure. I don't know what you mean by track them. They when you first show up for the first time and you go through the screening process, that's when you have to, and every time really, but you have to prove that you have a residence in the form of a utility bill, of course, a photo identification and so forth. I don't know, Kenneth, if you can speak any further to how non-homelessness, if that's a term, is validated.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit more. So when we come into a new community, we do our research on any homeless shelters, hotels, any kind of transient address that may exist within the community, and we establish a list of those locations. And so when the donor comes in, we enter their information as a new donor, and part of that process is that they do have to provide that proof of address. And so then we take that address and we compare it to the list of transient locations that we have identified. And I should add that list is updated periodically and reviewed on a regular basis as well. And so if that address appears on a list of the transient addresses, they would not be allowed to donate, and we would place a deferral on their account. And then if they're not able to provide proof of any kind of address, they also would have a deferral placed on them, and they would not be able to donate. So we don't necessarily have like a compiled list of homeless individuals, so to speak, but we do have a process to where we are able to defer those individuals from donating until they are able to provide an acceptable address.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I will go down the list with the different commissioners, and then, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, I'm Dr. Khalil. I'm the owner of the 2065 East Highland. I believe, but thank you everybody for this meeting and allow me to speak. First of all, I believe all the questions have been answered way better than the way I would put it, but I just want to add briefly that this is a vacant space, been vacant for good 10 years now. And if there is any homeless problem, there is a homeless problem in the shopping center, but it's concentrated on that vacant place. I get a call at least once a week, maybe twice a week for break-in. And I believe that if this will be occupied by a tenant like BioLife, this will not happen again. And it would discourage people from concentrating their tent or their sitting area in front of that space. And I think it would benefit quite a bit. One thing that I've noticed from the people who complain, I know I am the little one, I'm the new one in the block, but I felt that they're so worried about their businesses because of the parking that their clients might not find a parking for their business. I think that is a bit on the selfish side here, because I think if I would bring any tenants to this site, they will bring the same problems again. Well, that's not a solution. It doesn't mean that I should just lock down that space and have it vacant all the time just for their convenience. I believe that the shopping center has plenty of parking Monday through Friday. Maybe Saturday it's a little bit busy, but the rest of the days there's plenty of parking. I don't know why they are very worried about the parking and their business benefit. That's a little bit selfish here. I also wanted to say that there's plenty of parking in the back of the property, and I believe the employees will be parking there. So the employees, between 50 to 80 employees, will not park in the front, but they will be away. They will leave that front parking for the customers. Go ahead.
No, I should say 50 to 80 is the total staffing. That's not the number that will be on site actually working at any given. I mean, 20 to 30 max would be the number of employees at any given time working in the building, but 50 to 80 on the payroll, just to clarify.
So there's a plenty of parking for this for this employees in the back. I just want to say that if we have a problem with homeless, we could consider the fact that Cardenas will bring quite a bit of homeless since they serve alcohol. We should think of Wendy's who's coming in giving very low cost of a sandwich. This is all, you know, I give them all the respect, and I don't want to make an enemy out of new neighbors, but they were way out of line of their complaints. And I believe BioLife would be a great addition, not just to the plaza, but to the community and the city. With all this money coming in, definitely San Bernardino needs it, and needs it very badly. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Khalil.
Yeah, to follow up a little on what the Mr. Khalil was saying, I agree with a lot of what he had to say, especially with the projections being upwards to 2 to 3 million going to the actual donors, which would be actual community members in the community. And if they're there utilizing the services, it's almost certain that they actually need those funds. But I had a question that hopefully Jeff or someone from their staff can answer, is in regards to how has the implementation of your plasma centers in other locations changed the character or the overall operations of other sites that you had? Have there been any issues or recurring problems that may linger or may appear within the city of San Bernardino's proposed site, or are there any beneficials that the people complaining or have concerns about may not be considering or overlooking that you can kind of shed a little light on for us?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit, and Ken can as well probably, but around the country, really no issues. I mean, I could provide testimonials from mayors of other cities who have had that in there, from police departments. Recently, I did a tour through a Chicago suburb with Addison police assistant chief, and really no issues. I think what you're going to find is that this really isn't much different than any other doctor's office that sees patients. We have not had that higher outside security in any of the 123 locations around the U.S. anywhere. And we would be the first to do it, because the last thing we want is to get the kind of reputation that makes these types of meetings that much more difficult for us to get through. Ken, anything on that?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And I think you spoke to that well. And, you know, I'll say that we've heard some of these concerns before as we've gone into communities like Jeff mentioned. So I can certainly understand where people are coming from. And to an extent, I think there's a perception out there of what a plasma center is. But the reality is all of those communities that have expressed those concerns and we've gone into, they've felt differently once we're there. And once they see what we bring to the community, the thought of loitering and the lines, we have processes in place that discourage that. We don't allow people to loiter out front. If there was ever a wait, it would be at our reception desk until the receptionist, gets them checked in or something of that nature. It's not going to be outside on the sidewalks. All of these concerns we've heard before, and they're addressed because, to Jeff's point, we want to be good neighbors. We want to be a good part of the community. We work hard. Our managers, once we have them in place for that location, they work hard to get to know the surrounding businesses and make sure that we build those relationships so that if concerns do come up, that they have a contact and they can work with us directly, and we'll address it. But realistically, there aren't concerns once we're there. Once people see us, prior to opening, we do an open house and we invite all of our neighbors to come in so that they can see and kind of have those perceptions put to rest. And then they're welcome to come visit any time that they would like. We want to be very transparent. And so, yeah, I guess Commissioner Jones, to answer your question in short, that there are not additional concerns that come. If anything, it is a benefit that people see once they're able to actually see our locations, see how we operate, and see that we are there as business partners for them.
Excellent. That's very good to hear, and thank you for giving me that information to help make a decision. I also had a question for staff. Was there any opposition submitted to the Community Development Department from any residents within this proposed development within that proximity that requires an official public notice?
No, we didn't get anything from the residents. All the comments we got was from the property owners and the tenants within the shopping center.
Okay, thank you so much, Elizabeth.
All right, so I'm going to go really quick down the line with the commissioners.
If I may, Madam Chair,
yes.
I don't mean to interrupt. As a suggestion, we normally do this on, depending on the type of conditional use permit it is and business, what have you. We have this standard condition that we use. As an example, it was on the Beyond Mart we do for service stations kind of a thing. If you may recall, we have that condition for the review period over 2 years. Once they get a C of O, we could monitor the business to see if there's any issues that come up, and we could try to resolve them. And if we can't, we come back to the commission. If desired, we could add that condition, in this resolution if you would like. Just wanted to throw that out there if you felt like you needed a safeguard to monitor this business. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. All right. Commissioner Guerrero, do you have any comments for this project?
I think after Mr. Terrace had his presentation, answered a lot of the questions, as well as Mr. Wolf. So thank you very much for your presentation.
If I may speak?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, honorable members of the commission. My name is Gil Legaspi, Legaspi. My partner is Ramon Cardenas, CARDENAS, Realty Executive Commercial. We are the brokers on behalf of the property owner, the landlord. We've been working with the landlord for many years. What we can confirm is that over the years, he has proven to be a very responsible property owner. He does care. He is very hands-on as far as managing and his buildings. He does care. He does regular checkups. He's very involved with his tenants. When we took the property to the market to find a potential tenant, he was very, very selective. He does care. We had other options that he did not feel that were a good match for the community, for the shopping center. When BioLife came around,
he immediately felt that it was a good match. Him being a doctor, he understanding the benefits of having a tenant like BioLife come into this community. He felt very strongly that it would be a benefit for the shopping center. We have not had any issues with any of his other shopping centers, and we really feel he'll bring value to the community. So hopefully everyone can keep that in mind. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going down the line. Commissioner Jones, did you have anything else to add?
No, I think everything was pretty much clarified for me on my end. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Commissioner Wilbert.
Yes. I'm going to say about a year ago, we had a project at that same center in front of us where they demoed the buildings on Highland and produced some new buildings and new businesses. And at that time, I looked at it because there was the health club there. And the center needed some TLC for sure. But now we've got the Wendy's being built. Starbucks is starting to kick in. That whole frontage has got a whole new persona, which is great. And because they haven't kicked in totally yet, the impact on the center probably hasn't been felt. Now, I was by there today, and now the health club is not open, I don't believe, at all, or not. It's not in full operation. At noon today, parking lot had a lot of cars in it, and that was just at noon. And obviously, the new businesses up front haven't generated any parking yet. I really saw a concern with parking. The overall approach to this, I don't criticize the operation or anything else. I don't think that this is a place for a plasma center. We've got small stores around it. We've got Cardenas next to it. I mean, I'm not quite sure I see a Cardenas next to a plasma center. And like I said, we haven't seen the full impact of the new businesses out front. I really don't believe that this is the proper place, and not disregarding, I'm not criticizing their operation at all. I'm just criticizing where it's located. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbert. Commissioner Chang.
Thank you. I do agree with Commissioner Wilbert about the location, fit, suitability of this particular business operation at this plaza with all the adjacency business type, but then that's a business question. You know, currently my concern is has to do with the operation. Earlier we heard that you said how many patients or how many donors do you folks receive a day on average?
Yeah, I can take that, Jeff. So, you know, it's certainly going to vary by location. With the size of this facility, even the projections that were made by some of the opposition, I believe they came in at 325 or somewhere thereabouts. That's probably on the higher end for a facility with 36 donation beds. It's probably, you know, once they're fully operational and we're looking at full hours of operation, it's probably a little lower than that, probably more in the 250, maybe up to 300 donations a day, just based on the size. But it can certainly vary by location, but I would imagine it's probably lower than what the opposition was projecting just based on the size of the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Rolfe. And my next question for you, Mr. Rolfe, is when do you folks plan to open operation?
Yep, our excuse me, our plan right now would be to open towards the end of May 2021.
Okay. My concern, it has to do with, do you folks have any protective measures for the citizens against COVID-19?
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to that because I know that was part of the opposition as well, and I know Jeff spoke to it a little bit also. But we just like the rest of the country, the rest of the world, we've put in plenty of procedures into place to ensure that we're keeping individuals safe, both our employees and the donors who come in to donate. And so we have procedures in place to practice social distancing. Additionally, we do a temperature screening of all donors, employees. There were contractors, anybody that comes in the facility, the first thing they have to do is have their temperature taken. And if they're running a fever, they are asked to leave. We also, in general, even prior to COVID-19, we've got regular cleanings and sterilization of the facility and our equipment. But we have added additional precautions as far as cleanings that occur throughout the day. Also, our janitorial staff, they do a disinfecting at night, every single night. So we have put several precautions in place. We actually have a critical event response team that is dedicated to monitoring the CDC to ensure that we're complying with any and all expectations. And I'll say as things have evolved and maybe the regulations have loosened a little bit, we've remained very conservative. And that goes back to Jeff's point that we are owned by a larger healthcare corporation, and all of our plasma goes to them. And so our top priority is to ensure the safety of our donors and our employees, because we want to make sure that we're able to function at a high level and bring forward the highest quality of plasma. So yes, we've got several precautions in place, and that is reviewed regularly.
Thank you, Mr. Rolfe. Are you folks an essential service?
We are.
You are, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have, the questions I have. I mean, I do see the benefit having a plasma because there's a shortage and the society needs plasma, and it's globally. So, and also for cancer patients, especially leukemia patients, they're always on the search for plasma. My cousin has leukemia. We're always on the search for that donor. So I can understand the critical need of it. I think the concern is that, but also I heard a concern from the public that we're afraid. I don't live too far, and I'm afraid that this type of business will attract vagrants to come and donate on I don't know how it works, pardon me. So it's on a weekly basis. They can donate every single week. Is that how that works? Yeah. So.
Yeah, so donors can actually come in twice a week.
Oh, I see.
Yep. Yep. And what's different from a blood bank is that we return the red blood cells to the donors. And the plasma is essentially the proteins that are in the blood. And so the body is able to reproduce that on a much more regular basis than a blood donation. But yeah, again, I certainly can understand where you and others are coming from as far as what types of individuals may be attracted to that. But as Jeff mentioned earlier, the processes and regulations that we've put in place for ourselves deter those types of individuals.
Okay.
Realistically, and again, not to be insensitive to the homeless population, but they're not allowed to donate in our facilities because they're not able to provide that. And there's no exceptions to that. I mean, that is a black and white. If you are not able to provide proof of address of a permanent residence you are not able to donate. So there are several things that we have in place, as far as other things, whether it's drug use or things of that nature. We do, part of our screening process is that we check for needle marks or anything else of that nature that would not be the typical needle mark from our donation, obviously. But we've got procedures in place to ensure that the type of people that come in are the people that you see every day in your community right now, whether that's at Wendy's or Starbucks or any other location that's in that vicinity. The type of people that you see is the type of people that will be coming in to donate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Jaramillo, do you have any other comments to add?
Mr.
I do, but it looks like, I'm not sure if Jeff wanted to say something else, add something.
Yes, Mr. Terrace.
I just wanted to speak briefly to the question of the location. We do extensive market research on this, and there's really two things kind of driving the location other than the demographics of the surrounding community and the quality of the protein, of course. But people are busy is kind of what it comes down to. And we've found that when we don't locate in these shopping center type locations that are part of people's regular routines, they don't tend to go out of their way to donate the plasma to the levels that plasma is needed. So we're really trying to go where the people are with that. And the other thing that drives that is, the availability of property just is not what it used to be. And this is where the available properties are in these retail sections, with the .com, bricks and mortar retail apocalypse that we hear about so often. This is where the opportunities are. So it's more convenient for our donors, and it's where the buildings are located.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Terrace.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Jaramillo, did you have any other additional comments?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So the only other question, just because I want to make sure, I was looking for any type of, and this question's for Oliver staff, as far as the existing plasma donation centers in the city, are there any, let's say maybe reports or additional increased complaints logged at the police department?
Frankly, when we, thank you for the question. Frankly, when the notion of are there any more as a result of the letters coming in, I'll say, or the comments or concerns, and plasma centers, frankly, we didn't know where the other ones existed. We've heard no complaints. There've been no issues, and so we had to do our get on the internet like everyone else and kind of in contact with business license and kind of do our research. So to answer your question, we have not heard any comments one way or the other as it related to the existing facilities. It's my understanding that we have 3 in the city currently.
All right. No, I was just asking, just want to make sure that we get a good understanding of the projected business looking to come in and just answer everyone's questions just so they understand. And I'm glad that Mr. Terrace and Mr. Rolfe and Dr. Khalil were able to answer the questions and concerns that they had. And I feel like you answered the questions that the opposition brought up. And as far as the location, as long as it's maintained I don't see too much of a difference of when you go to other shopping centers and they do have a medical facility there. You really don't notice that they're there if they're ran properly. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good. So much like my other commissioners have mentioned and everything, you guys actually tackled all of the questions the opposition had about creating a nuisance was in one of their letters, conflict with the development in the plaza. In terms like, I read the letters and I'm taking a plaza that actually is very close to my home as an example. There's actually, it's a Cardenas and it has a Rite Aid and it has other restaurants as well around it. So it's very, very similar. It has a Jack in the Box, very, very similar. But right next to the Cardenas, they do also have a vape place. So, I mean, we get a variety of things that come into these plazas. So I understand that for some people, it does sound a little sketchy with like, the people who would be coming in, and that was a concern and that was something I was going to bring up. But you guys tackled that very early on, saying it has to go through the process. It is not a walk-in. And there is lots of parking, as you guys mentioned, in the back for the employees. The screening was an important thing. I think that helps kind of give this a very positive light. Again, no big police problems as well. It is FDA licensed. The 80% was something I was very happy to read as well. Spent in the community, which is right there. They have the Cardenas, they have the Wendy's, they have the Starbucks, they have all the mom and pop shops that are around as well. So this is actually, I think, a good thing. I don't like to see vacant spots because that really does promote homelessness. So thank you for this project. And I'll go once again over with the commissioners. Is there anyone who wants to make additional comments?
I have a question for Oliver.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Jaramillo.
Can you explain that little comment you made at the beginning before we started that said it was just kind of like some type of secondary clause?
The standalone facility?
Yeah, no, not the standalone. Where you said
the amendment that you made to the resolutions. Yes.
The resolutions.
Okay, yeah. So we do have a condition that we've imposed before where we normally do it like on service stations or convenience stores, especially those that have an ABC license. We and our code allows for a condition that within the first 2 years that a conditional use permit has a certificate of occupancy, that staff has an opportunity to go out and visit, monitor the operations and make sure that they're doing what they said they were going to be doing. If there's any issues or conflicts that come up, we try to resolve those between staff and the business owner. If for whatever reason we come to an impasse and we just can't get, whether it's cooperation or issues resolved, we have an opportunity to bring that back to the Planning Commission to revisit the conditional use permit and impose either additional or modified conditions and or take further action on the business.
I think I would be interested in something like that. I'm not sure, just to make sure.
If I could have the applicant, is that something that you guys would be amendable to having that clause? That way we can also, much like your neighbors, be able to look and see and kind of show the public that, we did do our due diligence to them and are monitoring everything.
We would absolutely welcome any of the members at any time for that. That's no hesitation on that. I guess the only thing that I would kind of want to understand here, you mentioned it 2 years. We're in discussions for a 10-year lease. I don't anticipate any problems. I guess I just want to make sure I'm not giving you the ability at your discretion to terminate us at the end of 2 years? I mean, help me understand, like, what would have to go wrong for there to be a problem? Not that I expect it, I just.
Well, let me explain the condition a little bit more. Our development code has language, and it really talks about nuisance, compliance, with your business license. We issue business licenses every day that don't require a conditional use permit. They just require staff signatures. Okay, the zoning allows it. Go pick up your business license, kind of a thing. But every once in a while, you do get a business that operates under either it's a false premise or whatever the case is, creates problems. Our development code, through our code enforcement department, allows us to go out and correct whatever the problem may be. And so all we really do it, like I said, it's more regularly used on, like I said, conditional use permits that involve alcohol or a new related use. We're not sure what we're getting here, and this may be a candidate for that. And with the patience of the commission, if you'd like, I could actually read it out so you know exactly what it says. And let's see, we made Stephanie go through a long reading, so I guess I'll go through one as well. It simply reads, every 6 months over a period of 2 years from the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the planning division shall conduct an inspection of the business operations and property to ensure compliance with the conditions of approval to the satisfaction of the director of the department. In the event that an unresolved issue continues to exist, the applicant shall submit an application and appropriate application fee for consideration by the planning commission. And so an example would be maybe you expanded the operation more than it was when you suggested. Let's say you want to go 24 hours instead of just your limited shift, or something's going on. You'd have to come back, or So in the 5 years that I've been here, we've not ran into that challenge. And to answer your question, what would have to happen? Frankly, no cooperation. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's very fair, and I don't have any reservations about having anybody come through whenever, let alone every 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. I hope that answered your question, Commissioner Jaramillo.
Yeah, it does. I think it would help and maybe ease the others' concerns.
Okay, perfect. If no one else has any other comments, I will entertain a motion.
You close the hearing yet?
Oh, no, thank you. I will close public hearing at this time, and I will entertain a motion for this item.
I'd like to make a motion approving agenda item number 5, conditional use permit 20-08.
I'll second that motion.
With the addition that Oliver has made and that the applicant has approved.
Correct. Yes, as read into the record.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Stephanie, if we could have a vote roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Chair Sanchez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilbert?
No.
Commissioner Chang?
Aye.
Commissioner Jaramillo?
Aye.
The item passes 5-1.
Thank you, commissioners.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We look forward.
Congratulations. Congratulations, BioLife.
Thank you all.
Thank you for answering our questions.
Oh, my pleasure. You don't need me anymore. I can log out.
You're fine.
If you'd like.
Thanks. Good night.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Khalil.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, the time is 8:06. And we will move on to item number 6. If I could have the staff report, please.
Yes, Commissioners. Item number 6 involves extension of time 20-002. It's for tentative track map 17367. This is, I will point out that I erred in the numbers as I was going through the math and what have you of the Assembly and State bills. This actually is the 5th extension of time being requested. So he would be allowed to apply for one more after this. But this particular project, again, it's a subdivision of approximately 65 acres into 66 single-family lots. And it also includes a conditional use permit, which is 0501. It covers, because it's on the hillside, it's within that overlay, so the code requires that conditional use permit. It's on the west side of West Vermont Avenue, at the terminus of Magnolia, and the zoning for the property is residential low. This shows the aerial depicting the location of the map. This is the site plan or the tentative map itself. You can see where the homes would be, the 66 homes. We do have some remainder portions, because it is on the hillside. There isn't a lot of developable area on that side because of the slope and the terrain. So the homes are clustered, meeting our minimum lot sizes for that zoning district, and we have some large remainder parcels. Our recommendation is that we find the categorical exemption for the extension of time. There was a mitigated neg deck that was originally adopted when a project was approved. So we continue that if no changes have occurred in the environment as a result of this map, or the extension, I should say, and therefore we are recommending that the Planning Commission consider approving extension of time 20-02. I'd be glad to answer any questions. We do have the applicant on with us, Neil Gascon, who could answer any specific questions that you may have for him. That concludes my report. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. At this time, I will open public hearing for this item. Mr. Gascon, do you have any additional comments that you would like to make? Oh, if you could unmute yourself.
There you go. Obviously, we concur with staff recommendation. I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. So I will go down the line with the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Guerrero.
No question. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
Oh, no, nothing further. I'll be supporting it.
Commissioner Wolbert.
What are the reasons for this extension? I mean, I know there's some obvious ones as of recent times, but what is the reason for the extension?
Commissioner, in response to the question, there's been for several years, the lack of water supply to service this elevation. And we have worked with the water department and its staff, gosh, over the last several years to figure out a way really now to finance the remaining infrastructure that would service the elevation of these homes. I believe the elevation is 1380. I don't have the water report here, but we're working on that still with the water department. And once the water infrastructure is brought to the site, it will be developable, and then we'll be able to move forward with it. I've been in this for, well, many years now, and the water issue has frustrated us this entire time. And the extension is to give us time now to try and get the water infrastructure financed so it can be installed. It has been designed by the water department. In fact, the water department has extended water mains to, I always get confused, along Vermont Boulevard or Avenue. That has to be extended from there up the hillside, and a water reservoir or tank be constructed. And that's been our challenge over the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years.
So this is ongoing with the water department. Are you making progress that within this extension, you may get over that?
Yes.
You are.
And what's happened is the initial design for the water tank was, I want to say, 2 million gallons. It's the size of the tank. The water department has now downsized that, and we're asking them to again look at the area and the number of units served. And if they agree with that, with our new analysis, we could again downsize the tank, or the water department would have to pick up the excess capacity. They're doing a portion of that anyway. But currently, the way it's designed, we only have approved maps or property owners that I think it's less than 300 lots that have to bear a disproportionate share of the cost of the water main and the water tank. And that issue has to get, our goal now is to see if we can downsize, or if the water department still wants to have those larger facilities, we're going to ask them if they'll need to bear a greater share of the cost of putting them in. Because that water facility is going to be there and it can serve other areas, even to the south of where we are. And again, that's where we're going to head with them. But I have to say they've been very helpful. The water department has. They've designed the facilities. They've installed water mains up to Bergamot Avenue. And it's this last leg we have to get done, and the water tank. And if we can achieve that through either downsizing those facilities or having the water department bear a greater share, then the property can move forward.
So you feel confident within the next year you'll have that resolved?
Yes.
I asked that because this is the second piece of property within the last, I'm going to say 8 months, that have brought up the water department issue before. And they were, well, they just didn't like the way it was going on. I think they were quite vocal about it. And that was one of my concerns is, we need housing in this city. I mean, really do. And if something like this is driving the development away, we need to resolve it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. But if you feel confident about getting through this, that's a good sign. So there isn't any other contingencies on this property?
No.
None at all.
The map is approved. If we get it extended, I believe I heard Oliver say that there's one additional extension beyond what we have here, so it'll be another year out. And if we need to, we have to take that extension because we have to complete our final engineering for the grading and subdivision improvement. And absent the water, we'd be out of here. I've been here since 2005, to give you an idea. And when we first came in, we were told that water was available. In fact, the property to the north of us, they got a will serve letter. And then after we were processing, the water department said that, they couldn't serve that. I think they could only serve maybe 10 houses out of 66, so we can't do that. Doesn't make sense. So we've been struggling with this for 15 years. And I've been fortunate that I have a financial partner, who's hung in here. We paid all our costs. And he said, if we get the water issue resolved, we can move forward. So that's where we are.
Did I hear you say you've been working on this for 15 years?
Yes.
Wow.
I had hair when I started.
Pardon me?
I said I had hair when I started.
Oh, well, I want to see this going. I'll just quote something real quick here. I can't read it because I don't have my lights on high enough. I think an official from Lennar made a statement, it's in the paper Sunday, that the IE, even though everybody knows the predicaments we're in with everything, the IE actually in new housing, the sales have increased, which sounds pretty good to me. So that would be good for someone like yourself. Good to hear that, because we need housing. Really do. And to hear you say what you've gone through, I don't like the idea. We've got things that are constantly throwing monkey wrenches in. So, but what you're saying is good, and I like it.
I'll give you a little background. We sold our home building assets to Lennar back in 2000. I think we closed 2002. And Lennar, as a result of that purchase, became the largest public home builder in the Inland Empire. And I followed their work throughout most of their Southwest Riverside County, and they're doing very well. And the other major builder in your area or developer is the Lewis Group. And I talked to one of their EVPs in their master plan community, and he's saying the same thing. The last 2 weeks, they've had the highest sales per tract that they've ever had. So I don't know. It's like people have been locked in, and now they can get out and look and buy a home. That's great. I mean, that's absolutely the best case. And I need that because we have to go to financing beyond what I have currently, and all the good news helps us get there. But I got to get the hurdles. I got to get over this hurdle.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, that was good news that I read, and so we go from there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilbert. Commissioner Chang?
Not for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Jaramillo?
I have a quick question for Oliver, or I mean, I'm not sure who can answer this one, but with this, the problem is financing to build the infrastructure or the water itself?
The financing for the infrastructure.
Okay. All right. And
the water is there. We just got to get it up the hill.
Got it. Okay. So you feel confident that within the next year, we'll be able to get some water over there?
Well, we're going in that direction. I mean.
All right. I'm just getting a better understanding. I read it, but I didn't really see what the issue. I seen that it said 2006. This started.
All right.
And that was my only question and comment.
Thank you.
All right. Much like Commissioner Wilbert and Jaramillo asked and everything, I was going to ask, how's the track map coming along? As that was part of the reason that the extension was being made for, again, it started in 2006. So this is the fifth Planning Commission extension. I usually am very, very against these just because I would like to see progress happening sooner rather than later. I know extensions are necessary evils, but we would like to see things happening. So I'm glad that things are moving along with the Water Department. I have no further comments on this issue. Do the commissioners have any other comments that they wanted to make? If not, I will close public hearing and I will entertain a motion for this.
I'd like to make the motion. Item number 6, extension time for Article 20-02 be accepted.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Stephanie, if I could have a vote roll call.
Chair. Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Chair Sanchez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilbert?
Aye.
Commissioner Chang?
Aye.
Commissioner Jaramillo?
Aye.
The item passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Mr. Gaskin.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, so we have gone through our meeting for the most part. Do we have any Planning Commission reports or announcements at this time? No, I did see Mr. Huntley. I know we met only earlier this month, but can you give us any little updates or anything going on?
I think at the last meeting I covered a lot, quite frankly. But what I will ask the planning commissioners to start thinking about is this. I'm not going to get into discussions we had on a previous item, but when you start to realize, and start looking at the traditional shopping centers we have, we're all used to seeing certain types of uses in shopping centers. And what I want to share with the commission is that, you're going to start to see some of what I call non-traditional uses starting to occupy traditional commercial centers, because there's really not the same competition that used to be 10, 15, 20 years ago. There aren't the same number of retailers to compete. There aren't the same number of quick serve fast casuals. So you'll see some of these other uses like, medical oriented offices that may come in and find a home. They aren't your traditional retailer, but there's not the same competition. If you drive down Highland, I know we talked about that one shopping center, but there's a half a dozen other ones in the immediate area. And, there's, 1/6 of those have vacant tenant spaces. And I don't disagree with what the people said regarding the transiency up there. But as you consider new applications in front of you, take that into account, that even this pandemic is going to force us to relook at the types of tenants and businesses that are out there right now. And it may be sometimes a little uncomfortable for us to, want to accept the fact that there are changes, but it's the nature of the industry, and these property owners are trying to make the right business decisions while keeping their commercial centers full. So just understand the commercial real estate market continues to change. And as you're looking at decisions, just kind of be cognizant of things are in motion, things are changing. So as we move forward with updating the city's general plan, we have to take those facts into account also. We start looking at the land use categories and what goes where. So you may start to see, as we come forward with proposals to updating the general plan and development codes, there may be other uses that we're incorporating into commercial districts, which may have not been those traditional uses you would have seen 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I just wanted to leave you with something to think about tonight, not update you on projects, which I did the last meeting, but just kind of think about, as we proceed with the update of the general plan and zoning codes, some of the changes that are going out in the market area and how that's going to affect how your staff, planning staff, provides information to you at these planning commission meetings. So,
thank you, Mr. Huntley. All right. If no one else has any other,
I do have something, Madam
oh
Chair.
yes, Mr. Oliver.
If we may, without intrusion, I would ask if we would consider adjourning tonight's meeting. We have one of our staff members, you may have noted, Michael Rosales, who had 2 items on tonight's agenda. He's with a heavy heart with the passing of his ex-wife. She is survived by their 18-year-old son. So I was hoping that we could adjourn in her memory, her name being Shannon Whitley. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. And our hearts go out to him and his family. So yes, we will adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion?
A motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. I'm thinking we could probably do this unanimously. All right, so all in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think that's unanimous. And we will see you in the July meeting. Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Happy